All right, welcome everybody to part one of the Yankee Chronicles collection playlist. And I'm here today with somebody who is very infamous on Twitter for his hat of the day. I'm here with Spencer. Spencer, how you doing today?
Good morning, Bob. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. As you said, my name is Spencer. Twitter handle is @musiciandmd, MUZIXNDMD, and the founder of the New York Yankee Cap of the Day, the hashtag Yankee Cap of the Day.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was interested in is what started the hat collection.
The hat collection is definitely something that evolved. It all really starts with just an inherent love of caps. Since I was a kid, I've always loved hats, and I've always had, for as long as I can remember, a Yankee cap that I'd like to put on. When I was a youngster, I like to wear the helmets, the plastic helmets.
Yeah.
But I would say that where the collection really started taking off, it definitely go back to 1996. That's when I got my first Yankee fitted cap.
Okay.
For as long as I can remember, you could always get a snapback, you could always get a replica, but you could never find the cap that the players wore on the field. So I was in a sports authority, and I found that it was the only cap there, and it was in one of those, metal bins on clearance, if you can believe that. And it was a size too small, but I found it. I said, I'm going to take this cap. And I loved it, and I started wearing it. And I think what really helped propagate it was when the Yankees were in the 1996 World Series, that was the year after they started putting the side patches on. So when I saw that the side patch cap was available, I thought, wow, I've got to go and I got to get that. And then, little by little, it just started off with, a couple dozen caps. A couple dozen caps eventually became 100 caps. The big thing for me was discovering online shopping, which my wife had, she had been into it. I had never done that stuff before. But one day the curiosity bug got into me, and I'm looking at places where I can do online shopping. And then it just popped into my head, hey, I wonder if Lids, has an online shopping site. That's where I get the majority of my caps from.
Okay.
And I went in there and I saw, all the different varieties of caps. And it was like a eureka moment. It was like when John met Paul, here come the Beatles kind of moment for me. It really was. And I was just floored by the number of caps that they had. One thing that Lids did feature was a nice clearance section. So a cap that normally would go for $34.99, if it was around and unsold for long enough, eventually they'd get it down for $10. And, I'm thinking, boy, if you can get a $34 hat for $10, go and get it. Don't stop that.
Yeah.
Then the batting practice caps came out around 2015, and I like the midnight navy with the white rim. I loved it, and it just got to the point where I just kept buying them, and the collection accumulated. But I would definitely, if you're looking for a real starting point, it was definitely in 2015, and it really started like accumulating in the winter of 2016, as far as I can remember.
You obviously, if you're able to post a different hat every day, you've got an immense collection.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you've managed to show social media a different hat every day. And
Sure.
I think it's one thing that a lot of us on Twitter, we look forward to seeing. All right, what's he going to put out today? Is there one in particular that you hold above the others as your favorite?
As a matter of fact, there is, and I'll post it for you after we do our program today. It's called the G Woolly. It features a wool gray visor. It features a midnight blue cap, and it features a complimentary gray logo. I always cite that as my favorite cap in the collection. It's one of the earliest caps that I bought. It was really one of the first fashion caps that I bought. A lot of Yankee fans will tell you, they can't wear a cap other than, the traditional on field. And I totally get that. And I used to be in that cap. I used to be in that camp. But when I saw this cap, you know, something in me said, I've got to have that cap. I know it goes against my fiber of what I wear as a Yankee fan, but I've just got to get that cap. And so I think in part because it's one of my oldest caps, it holds up very nicely. It's very durable. That's one of the reasons why. And I'll post it for you after we have our Zoom conversation today.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll look forward to that. Now, one of the other things that you do for Hat of the Day is you shout out a lot of people. How did it come to making sure that you tag as many people as possible and really get the word spread and get, you've really built yourself with an amazing following, like I said. How did that part of the Hat of the Day come in?
My objective originally with showing my Hat of the Day was really because I go on Twitter, to find people that I have common interests with. Mm-hmm. Even beyond Yankee fans, I'm a musician, so I look for people who like rock music. A Brooklyn Nets fan, so I look for Nets fans. So I found Yankee Twitter because I wanted to, join with Yankee fans, and I'm interested in seeing what other Yankee fans do to show, what kind of fan they are. Like, for instance, I really love that Yankee flag that you have in back of you. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm trying to get from people. You've got a Yankee flag. Maybe somebody else wears a Yankee T-shirt. Maybe somebody else wears a pullover that they like to have every day. Maybe there's somebody who doesn't have a million hats, but they've got one hat, and they've always got to wear that one hat. So I was really just trying to, show my enthusiasm and maybe to inspire other people to show what it is that they like to do. What's really happened is that people, which has taken me very much by surprise, and I'm very appreciative of it, but people really like the cap of the day. And because I have so many hats, it's so easy for me to show a different cap pretty much every day. And the way that I systemize and take my caps out as well, I tell you about, I have enough Yankee caps to last me for the next 30 years. That is no joke. I'm probably, there's a good chance that I will outlive my caps unless I live to be, 90 or 100. I'm not kidding. That's very serious. But that's the tagging was really just because I was really just trying to fuel Yankee talk and Yankee fan talk. It wasn't because I wanted to exclude or exclusively have people look at my things. It was because I didn't really trust Twitter enough to just make a post myself and then think everybody was going to look at it. I figured, let me tag some people. Maybe they'll be into it. Anybody who doesn't want to be tagged, they'll just say, "Hey, don't include me with your tagging." But that was really what the whole tagging was about. Now it's gotten to the point where a lot of people, I have so many people, it's really hard to tag everyone on a daily basis. I really am sincere when I send out the Yankee cap of the day and I only have 4 tweets associated with it. And I say, I apologize if you weren't tagged today. There's some people who are really, really loyal and really enthusiastic to me about it. And when I don't tag them, they will write to me and they will let me know.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. But when I do the tagging today, it's really just because I'm trying to get the word out. Anybody is invited. I never want the tagging to seem like it's exclusive.
It's only for those eyes. It's for everybody.
Correct, exactly. And again, I'm still trying to get people to show whatever it is, whether it's a hat or a shirt or a pair of shoes, or maybe you collect autographs. That is really what I'm trying to do. I want to see what Yankees fans do to show what kind of fan they are. So me as a fan, it's the hat thing. I love the hats.
Yeah, see, for me, and I'll send pictures. I got to start posting them on Twitter because I don't have a lot just yet, but I have a lot of different types of collections and memorabilia.
Yeah.
Stuff. I have I'm doing this for my Yankee room in my home.
Yeah.
And I got to start putting pictures up because I like the things where somebody will be like, "I've never seen that before."
Yeah, yeah.
To spark conversation with fans.
Yeah.
Not Yankee fans, but baseball fans.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a great community that you've built, and personally, I appreciate how you really just bring conversation together and bring people together that may not have interacted before.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
And I think that's wonderful. So
I appreciate that. I'm really just trying to be positive. There's a lot of not so positive stuff on Yankee Twitter.
yeah,
And I like to be an all-inclusive fan. Even though it's Yankee Hat of the Day, there are some Met fans that I tag.
Yep.
There are some Astros fans. When it comes to caps, I leave my team loyalties at the door.
yeah,
So brace yourself. There are a couple Red Sox fans, that I will include,
yeah.
in the tagging. That's a whole hat thing. I love my team,
But that's what it is. That seems to be the whole point of this. It's this to build a friendship community
yeah,
where somebody that might be a Red Sox fan or Tigers fan,
yeah,
wherever, and be like, oh well, oh, that's a cool hat. Look at this one I found,
yeah,
and really build that community and that
yeah.
conversation, because memorabilia, collectibles, it's something that we really try to emphasize of what we have.
Sure.
It's just something that you've gotten that ball going, and you are the godfather of the social media collectibles.
I appreciate that, Bob. That's very, very kind of you.
All right. While I have you, before I let you go, I do have to ask what you think of how the off season has gone to this point.
I'm following it like everybody else. I gotta say, um, I try not to get too involved with off-season stuff just because there's so much out there. There's so much conjecture. I'm aware of, the biggest issue right now for the Yankees is to sign DJ LeMahieu. And I understand that. I get that. I sure hope we get them. But one thing, that I've learned is that there's just a lot that I don't know as a fan. I'm not the kind of fan that will say, well, the Yankees should just give him another a year. The Yankees should give him $25 million. Because I do like to think like the general manager and the agents. And I like to imagine if I was in that, negotiating room, and what are the real stipulations going on as to the negotiations. There really is a lot that we don't know. And I certainly understand the way fans feel. They want to get things done. They want to have the players that they really care about. And DJ LeMahieu, he's definitely one of those guys. But I think also baseball can break your heart. And if you get a little too emotional, or if you at least don't brace yourself, for the bad news, it can really sting. So I guess, what I'm saying is that I've kind of objectified, the way that I look at baseball in recent years. I try. There is a little kid in me, that loves, the Yankees and wants to have everything, that you could get as a Yankee fan.
Yeah.
But the adult in me says, they may not be able to sign him, or they may say, Brett Gardner, he may have to play for another team. You may have to accept that he's playing in a different uniform next season. Beyond the DJ LeMahieu, I think not signing Paxton Bat was good. He was very serviceable those couple of years he played for us, but the injuries really took their toll. He was an okay pitcher. I never really thought that it was a dynamite signing. Good signing, but not a dynamite signing.
Yeah.
Tanaka. I'm sorry, you were going to say.
With Paxton, at the time, it was a pitcher that we needed. The lefty pitcher, it was great. But with the injuries, it's too much of a risk because I always, one of our other shows, I made the statement. I'm like, if they brought him back on a 1-year prove-it deal for like $10 million, it's not going to hurt.
Yeah.
But with the financial losses throughout all of the baseball teams, you might not see some of those prove-it deals where you would prefer it to be.
Right.
Like Gardner, I don't think Gardner is going to be back in New York. I think that door is kind of closed because they'll have a younger player in Frazier that they don't have to pay too much money to.
Yeah.
And there are other players coming through the pipeline being Jason Dominguez.
Yeah.
You want to see where everything is at.
Yeah.
Well, I think the off season is going to be very slow moving.
Speaking of the off season, one thing that I do is I went out and I bought a lot of books to read, Yankee books. That's how I spend my off season time. I recently finished Inside the Empire by Bob Klapisch and a fellow author. Very good book, and it talked a lot about the 2018 season, but it really gave you some insight as to the way the Yankees operate. One thing that you'll hear me say, and one thing that I also observe, is there's a contingency of Yankee fans out there who miss the George Steinbrenner way. Yeah. They miss George Steinbrenner going out and just sending a pile of money and getting any player that he wanted. From what I've read in this book, that's really not the way that how Steinbrenner works. It's not even the way that Brian Cashman wants to operate. What I've said in as gentle a manner as possible to my fellow Yankee fans, since 2010, these are the new New York Yankees.
Yeah.
The days of George Steinbrenner, they are now long gone. And George Steinbrenner, I think fans appreciate, his desire to win and how he really it was really important to him, as opposed to an owner. And I can say this speaking as a Brooklyn Nets fan, because I've seen this before the current ownership came here. I've seen you have ownership where they just take a team and they just like the love of having a team, but they really don't invest in it. Like when the Nets were owned by Bruce Ratner, the Brooklyn Nets, they were just a piece to help him build his real estate empire in Brooklyn. It certainly helped the Brooklyn Nets get to where they want to be today, but it really stunk when you had a 12-70 Brooklyn Nets team, and it looked like ownership didn't want to do anything for them. So George Steinbrenner, it was an owner that really wanted to win, and he, that was really fed to the Yankees. The problem is that George Steinbrenner was never going to win forever, and the game was never going to be the same as it was in the time that he owned the team as well. You have the luxury tax now. You have drug testing, and these were things that were all cited inside the Empire as things that might have, impacted George's thinking, today. I don't know if a lot of Yankee fans are aware of it, but they owe $75 million a year in a mortgage payment to pay for Yankee. Sorry about that. There was a phone call I had to. There was a phone call. I had to turn that off. But the Yankees owe $75 million a year to pay for Yankee Stadium. So while perhaps, that is a manageable amount for them, even in the COVID-19 season where there was no attendance, $75 million a year.
Got to come from somewhere.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to be doing some good business to be able to, scratch and get that nut taken care of. That's before you can put any money into the team.
Yeah, I think, we've gotten to that misconception that because they're the brand of the Yankees, that there's just an endless supply of money. And
right.
That's not reality. When you like you said, when you take a step back and you take your fandom aside,
right,
it is a business. And
yeah.
We've gotten so spoiled with the Steinbrenner and Gene Mike, Stick Michael days, that we haven't allowed ourselves to adapt to, like you said, the new New York Yankees.
Right.
And I think another part of what's throwing the fans crazy, other teams are not just willy-nilly letting their talent go.
Yeah.
They're locking them up long term. So the market is not, the free agent and the trade market is not as strong with talent as it used to be.
Yeah.
You're not going to see, Washington. So Washington goes on, on a 4-year slide.
Yeah.
They're not just going to get rid of Juan Soto.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's already going to be locked up, so he's ready for the rebuild. So, you have Trout locked up, stuck out in the West Coast. Yeah, a lot of these players, you don't see the market move like it used to.
One of the thing is, Bob, that I think has really impacted Yankee fans. When the Yankees won the World Series 3 years in a row, 98, 99, 2000, those were great times. those were also times when you had a lot of Yankee fans coming out of the woodwork and saying, you know, you win the World Series or the season is a failure. That's very, very easy to do when you are, in fact, winning the World Series. The reality is that what the Yankees did, that is very, very rare to do in any sport. You know, it just does not happen. I don't think the Yankees' inability to win the World Series with the new team is because of any shortcomings in the team. I think it's just that in those years from 96 to 2001, they just had the right set of players at the right time, and they were playing against the right teams at the right time also. I mean, the ball just bounced their way. If you remember the 2001 ALDS against Oakland, they were down 0-2, and they barely got by the skin of their teeth in that 1-0 win in the famous Derek Jeter flip play.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, you know, a bounce of the ball here. The umpire called Jeremy Giambi safe at that time. Could have been a different story.
Yeah.
The 2000 Yankees, you know, they were terrible in that September of 2000. I think they were like 4-17. They did not look like a World Series championship team. But the ball, you know, things just came together for that team, and they were able to meet the Mets and defeat the Mets in the World Series. So there is sort of, you know, not just a random act of not just a randomness as Bob Costas might describe, but there's something like, you know, with the baseball gods, you know, that are just, you know, smiling on the Yankees. Maybe the baseball gods aren't smiling on the Yankees as much, but I think this team is talented enough to have won those World Series. I just don't think we've really gotten the bounce of the ball. And it's harder to win a World Series now. Now you have multiple steps to get into the playoffs, and it's very, very difficult to do that. Let's take a look at the 2018 ALDS. The Yankees were down 2-1 against Boston. 9th inning. They have the bases loaded. Nobody out. Craig Kimbrell, he just doesn't have it. Giancarlo Stanton strikes out. 1 away. What was the final out in that play? Gleyber Torres had a replay ground out, you know, to end the game and to end the series. A step here, a second there, could have been a different story. So it's not like the Yankees had this, you know, were underplayed or outmatched by Boston. I do think Boston was the better team, but I thought the Yankees were very capable of winning that World Series. They just didn't get the bounce of the ball that season.
Well, that's what it is. You know, you could have all the talent on the field. If it doesn't click, you know, it's hard to get through those hurdles.
Yeah.
You know, like we cited with the dynasty in the late 90s.
Yeah.
They were so in tune with each other.
Yeah.
They were all selfless. It wasn't about that. You know, they weren't playing for a contract or the back page. They were playing together to win. So I think that's what this group needs to do to get past the barrier.
I think also to that, to expand on that a little, because I've said this before too. And this again was in the book. Forgive me if I'm oversighting the book that I just read. But you know, the Yankees in the 1990s were very corporate. You know, you had to dress a certain way coming to the ballpark. You had to act a certain way in the clubhouse. That really ran its course at the end of the 2007 season. And a lot of fans, I don't know if they realize it, but when the Yankees signed Nick Swisher and CC Sabathia, they didn't just bring them in for their skills. Brian Cashman brought those guys in because they needed to change the clubhouse. And the clubhouse was really just too stiff. So I think what it is the Yankee fans are trying to do is we're still trying to figure out what is this team? Are they a fun bunch? Are they a rowdy bunch?
Yeah.
You know, are they a party bunch like the Bronx Zoo, you know, of the 70s? Who are these Yankees? And I think they're trying to find themselves also.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw AJ Burnett run with the pie in the face, you know, for the win. And I'm like, I'm like, this isn't, you know, the backyard. I'm like, this is Yankee Stadium. Knock it off.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't what like. What are you doing? You're a child.
Yeah.
But it is a kid's game, and
Yeah.
I really grew to enjoy seeing that.
Yeah.
And when Swisher had the pie in the face start, talking and after a game,
Yeah.
that just even excited him even more. When he got
Yeah.
all ramped up, I'm like, all right, you know what? This is fun again.
Yeah. Exactly. I thought Derek Jeter and Jorge Posada and Andy Pettit, I thought they were all great players. But I'm also a big believer that you should let baseball players be baseball players.
Yeah.
And part of that is, if they don't like a call by the home plate umpire, they should be allowed to argue it, like we've seen Brett Gardner do.
Yep.
If they don't like a play by a call in the in the field, they should, especially if it's a big spot in the game, they should get mad as heck.
Yep.
If there is a brawl, they should go out and they should, support their team. Or if there's a pitcher and they deliberately throw at you. Now, I don't advocate fighting. I don't advocate brawls, but I understand. I understand, these so-called unspoken rules. You didn't really see that a lot, with. You didn't really see that a lot with Derek Jeter, and I know to criticize Derek Jeter and Jorge Posada and Andy Pettit and all those guys and Mariano Rivera. That's not what I'm doing. But I like that you've seen, Aaron Judge, for instance. I like, when Kelly, threw at Tyler Austin.
Yeah.
And he went out there and he got Kelly in a headlock. I don't advocate that they fought, but I like that he didn't stay on the sideline, vis-a-vis in a 1999 brawl involving Joel Girardi. That was where we infamously saw Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez, sort of chatting it up in the middle of the field. And then after the players went back into their dugout, that's where Chad Curtis got in Derek Jeter's, face, for, being talky-talky on the field. If you remember that. Fans of a certain age do remember that.
Yeah, no, it's small memory.
Let the ball players, let them be baseball players. And if
Yeah.
fighting is part of the game, okay. If shouting at umpires and getting kicked out of the game is part of the game, let that be.
Yeah. Let the kids play, like they say. All right, well, that's going to wrap this up for now. Spencer,
I really
thank you
enjoyed this,
again.
Bob. I hope we do this some more. I'm telling you, I could talk all day, man.
No, we'll definitely, we'll have to get you on our weekly show. The guys would really enjoy chatting with you.
I appreciate that, man. That'd be great. Bob, I just want to say also,
Yeah.
I just want to say publicly, I do want to thank you and all the fans who helped me with the recent Lids Ultimate Hat Collection contest.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I was really very moved by that when I received the letter and they said, you're going to be a contestant this year. It all happened because of you and because of everybody else who just, clicked on Instagram and looked at my caps. It really wasn't so much the contest itself. It really was that you and everybody showed enthusiasm for me and got behind me. I kid you not, I wept it out in my garage, when I got that letter.
Yeah.
I didn't really mind that I didn't win the contest because whatever the result was, I firmly believe, and I'll stand by this and I'll say this now, I had you and the best followers. You guys were the great. I would rather lose 100 times with you than win one time with any other set of people. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone now for the help.
That's kind. Follow Spencer on Twitter. Follow the Hat of the Day. It's so much fun. It really is. And from everybody at Yankee Chronicles, I'm Bobby Ryan. I want to thank everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a good day.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.